Welcome to another episode. Welcome to episode number 5 of Beyond Ideas podcast. Today we are gonna talk about the concept of fighting for love, or the idea, or beyond the idea of fighting for love. So yeah, very warm welcome. My name is Jorge Surya. And yeah, I'm starting this journey of recording a podcast where I talk about different topics in life that I believe it can help you to grow. It can help you to, be a better version of yourself, essentially. And some things may be interesting and some may not. But yeah, you're welcome to come and stay and enjoy this episode. And if you feel like you want to support this podcast, of course, you can subscribe, you can like, you can comment, the drill of the internet world nowadays. So yeah, super welcome to support. And yeah, let's dive into the topic. So here's the deal. And probably towards the end of the episode, you're going to understand better why I'm talking about this idea. And this is something that I lived in my life, right? So, and I am pretty sure that most people have this in somehow, somewhat, which is the concept of fighting for love, or the idea of fighting for love. You have your life and you've had, however old you are, you've had many relations in your life: love relations, friends relations, family relations. And so this concept, I believe, it plays out through in our relations in our life. And yeah, and there's sometimes where you may find yourself that you subconsciously, probably not consciously, but subconsciously, you find yourself that you have a need to fight for love, or you are fighting for someone's love. You might have fought for your parents' love when you were little, which is totally normal, I believe, in children. And I can explain more about this in a little bit. But the problem, I believe, is that when you still have this energy inside, or you learn how to receive love this way, then many times through your adult life, you probably will be attracting people, or you will probably have people in your life where you feel that you need to fight for their love. You need to prove yourself to them, whether it's a friend, or probably and most likely a romantic relation, someone that you like, someone that you're with, someone that you were with in the past. I think this is where this wound plays out the most. I really like one. I think I read. I read in one book with Osho. I like Osho. I think he's a funny guy, and we can learn a lot from him. Despite, like, if you know a little bit about his life and how it ended up and all the controversy and everything, like, taking that away, I think some knowledge that he taught, it was quite interesting. He has a book called Love, Freedom, and Aloneness. I totally recommend you that book, especially if you struggle with love. And I believe in that book, he sort of said, and I think this is quite like normal thing in a way, which is that in love relations is where you can go the deepest in yourself, where you can explore the deepest, where most of your wounds are going to resurface, and just many things. So that's why I kind of want to refer to love relations mostly, even though I believe this concept of fighting for love also plays in friendships, even at work relations, and all kind of relations. So the deal with this is that this concept of fighting for love, or like proving yourself to someone so that you are loved by them, these in my personal story, and probably I believe in most stories, this comes from childhood. This is what I call the inner child wound. Yeah, you probably are familiar with the concept of inner child, but if you're not, in a nutshell, the inner child is like, you are probably an adult right now, but we all have our inner child inside, which is the life and the memories we had when we were little, that they still play a role in your adult life, somehow, somewhat. There are probably many beliefs, many emotions, energies that you lived when you were a child. And if those emotions were not processed correctly, or if they created a big impact in you, they're probably playing a part in your life. And in a way, if that's happening to you and you're not aware of it, you are probably acting from your inner child many times throughout your life without knowing. So you might be 40, you might be 50 or 30 or however old you are. And yeah, and if you don't know about this topic, there's sometimes that your inner child is taking the decisions for you instead of your adult self. But yeah, I think another time we'll talk more about inner child because it's a very extensive topic. And yeah, just so you know, I'm not an expert in anything. I speak mostly from experience and from the things that I've learned. So, but yeah, I'm not like a PhD psychologist, whatever it is. I'm quite interested in these topics and also have done some of this inner work. So yeah, you're welcome to not believe anything that I say or whatever you want. And so yeah, going back to the topic of the wound of fighting for love or proving yourself. So yeah, going back to that topic, I just want to emphasize again that if you find yourself fighting for love in your life, fighting for the love of that person that you really like or your partner, you find yourself that you feel in a way that you need to prove yourself to this person, you're probably having this wound. And this wound, like I say, comes from early childhood. So it is really important to be aware that there's nothing wrong with you. It is just something that you lived in the past, and that experience, that emotion, it's still present in your body somehow, somewhat. And yeah, and at the end of the episode, I will tell you how I did it myself to sort of connect and heal this wound, how you can do it yourself. And yeah, and of course, just in a nutshell, obviously, with these things, the best way is to get help from someone, psychologist, coach, whoever. Also, yeah, if you feel inspired, you can even try with me. But yeah, you are welcome to do whatever you want. So let's see if I get this idea together. The thing is, so imagine yourself. Imagine that you are a child again, right? And and the relation you had with your parents, the love from your parents was very, very important in order for you to survive. So the most important thing, or one of the most important things when you were growing up, when we were all growing up, it's that we feel loved from our parents. That love give us the security and the support to keep growing up, to keep developing our ideas, to go to school with more confidence, and this and this and that. And of course, we all have a life, and I don't know how was your life, but probably not perfect like mine or many others. And we all had our struggles when we were children. And yeah, and one of the struggles could be this love relation with your parents. So to give you maybe an example, there were qualities when you were a little kid that your parents really, really like and accepted. And probably there were qualities that they struggled with, that they had some sort of difficulty. Most likely, you can sense those qualities when you were a teenager, because a teenager normally is a period where parent-child relation can be quite frictional in a way, but even earlier than that. So why I mention this, it's because this is what is playing out in your life right now. There are parts of you that you may not fully accept, or you may be scared of showing to another person. So let's say you meet someone, you meet if whoever you are, you meet a girl or a man or whoever you're attracted to at a bar, right? And in that first encounter, you might want to show the best qualities that you have, right? You don't want to show your shadows right away, because maybe that person's going to get scared and you're not going to be able to meet that person deeper. So you show the good parts of you, right? Your funny side, your happy side. The person asks you, how are you? And maybe you say, I'm fantastic, this and that, even if you're not having a good day. Let's say you're showing your lights, the lights part of you. And the more you meet, let's say you keep meeting this person, you keep connecting to this person, and the more you meet this person, there will be times where you will be triggered, where you will be in your shadows. Maybe you show some anger, maybe you show some sadness, maybe you show some behaviors that in the moment they come spontaneously, but then you regret, and then you're like, oh, I made a mistake, or you said some bad words, or whatever it is, that shadow that you have, and that is part of you. We're not perfect. There are different parts of us, and some of them may be a little bit more ugly, and some of them may be more beautiful. But if you feel that someone can only like you and someone can only love you for your good parts, and your bad parts are not really welcome when you meet someone, then there is a bit of an issue there, because you're not being fully yourself. You're not being your whole self towards someone. And like I said in the beginning, when you're meeting one person, it might be okay, or it might be natural that you don't show all your shit in a way, or your bad parts. But when you, yeah, with time, it is important that this person also knows these parts about you. And maybe you have a pattern where the people that you meet, when they see these parts of you, or this has happened many times in your life, that you meet someone, and when it gets after some times, after some months, after some weeks or days, or whatever, then they get to see these parts of you, and then they totally reject you, or they totally abandon you. And maybe that's a pattern that keeps repeating in your life. If you have this wound of fighting for love or proving yourself to someone, this wound is going to be repeating. Like, this is going to be a pattern for you in your life, that you just keep attracting people that you just need to prove yourself to them. You need to fight for their love. And maybe that's the only way you know how to love, because that wound's still present in you. So yeah, and normally this is probably very unconscious. Like, if you have this wound and you have this pattern, you may be asking yourself, why love is so difficult for me? Why am I having such trouble to connect with people, or to keep people in the love? Or like, yeah, why there is this friction? Because, and I mention this because I want to let you know, and I truly believe this. You're welcome to believe what you want, but I truly believe that love is easy. Love is super easy, the same way life is easy. Love is effortless. You don't need to do much. If you believe that you need to fight for someone's love, you can live the rest of your life like that. But there is another side of the coin, which is the side that you can live a very peaceful life, and life will bring love to you. You don't have to fight for anyone's love. You don't need to do anything for anyone's love. And I refer back to this idea that I keep mentioning in these episodes. You can go back to the second episode where I say you don't have to do anything in this life. But yeah, this idea of, like, imagine that you're a tree. The tree doesn't need to do anything. The tree just lives life peacefully, and sometimes struggles. Sometimes there's more sun, better weather qualities, better weather conditions, rain or whatever, and sometimes not. But the tree is still there. A pine tree, 100 years living, they don't need to do anything. And in a way, they're parts of you, the nature, that the parts of you that are most connected to nature. Also, you don't need to do anything with them. Like your heartbeat, you don't need to tell the heart, beat, 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 and pump the blood so that I keep alive. You don't need to tell your lungs, please absorb the air and fight for the air so I get air and I don't die. No, you don't need to do that. The same way, many in many aspects of life, you just don't need to do anything. You just need to be and be present and be still. And in a way, love is a bit like that. So, okay, let's see if I can tackle this friction point and like why there is this need of fighting for love. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but I'm not an expert in, and I don't have so much experience with this podcast, so I may repeat myself sometimes. So you're welcome to skip ahead. But yeah, I believe that when you were a child, you probably had a repeated experience where, in order to feel love, you had to prove yourself to your parents. And I think this is a very common child thing. Just look at a child, any child that you have around you, or think about yourself. Do you remember many times throughout your life, or some child that you may have, that they may do it? I don't know at which age they start doing it, but this thing of like, hey mom, hey dad, look at what I do. And having this need of like reassurance that in order for them, so they imagine they do a flip, or they paint a very nice thing, picture, or they do something really cool. And as an adult, you see it and it's like, yeah, sure, it's beautiful, whatever, it's cute. But they have a need of like, hey, mom, look at this. Hey, dad, look at this. Look how I shoot the ball to the goalie. Look how I do a flip. Look how I paint. Look at like all this, right? So there is this need already since we're little, the need for recognition. And in a way, it also comes with love, right? But here's the deal. When you were a little kid and you made a good joke or you make people laugh, everyone loved you, right? But when you were having a trigger or when you were having a rough time, it wasn't that easy to get love, right? When you were screaming because you wanted something and you didn't get that thing, maybe you didn't get so much love at that time. Maybe you got screamed at, or maybe you got punished, or maybe something happened, because this part is not nice. And of course, your parents need to educate you, and that's part of life. However, the little child doesn't understand that. And especially if your parents didn't really have the tools on how to handle themselves, how to regulate themselves, and they put, in a way, their emotions into you and they blame you, or however it happened. I'm not going to go so much into detail because everyone had different experiences and this happened in many different ways in our lives. But the point here is that as a little kid, throughout our lives, in some way we learn this. When we are good, when our good parts are there, we receive a lot of love from our parents, from our friends, from our colleagues, and everything. But when we are in our bad, when we are sad, when we are in our angry, or whatever behavior that we may perceive as negative, we don't receive that much love. And maybe this is when we need the most love, right? When we're feeling bad is when we probably needed the most love, when we were little. So in a way, subconsciously, we started to develop this concept of like, well, I need to show my good parts, and my bad parts I might need to hide, because when I show my good parts, I get love. When I show my bad parts, I don't get love, or I receive very little love, or I need to fight for love. And that's the concept that I'm trying to say, when you need to fight for love. And how this plays out into adulthood in some way. It's like, so you did this when you were a little kid without even knowing or understanding, and you grew up with this energy of showing your good parts. Now you go back to the bar. You go back to the bar, you're trying to pick up on that person, whoever that is, and you want to show your good parts. You don't want to show your bad parts. You meet this person, whatever it is, keep connecting, keep connecting, keep connecting. You maybe even go live together with this person. And again, there is one, at some point, you're going to have to show your bad parts. But if you really had this wound, this repeated wound when you were a little kid, then it's probably complicated for you to show these bad parts, because you may fear abandonment, you may fear that you're not going to get love, that the person is not going to accept you. So you might have developed a pattern of like, only showing your good parts in a way. And here's the situation. If you're in this journey, in this inner knowledge journey, in this inner self-development journey in a way, and you're working on yourself and you're detecting this wound inside of you, the thing is that it is very complicated to live a life where you can only show your good parts. It's super complicated. And this is where it comes the concept of like fighting for love. You are fighting to show your good parts. You're fighting for people to love you so much that when your bad parts come, you're either able to hide them, or you're either able to, yeah, really minimize them or even suppress them and not show so much your bad parts, right? So when they come, it's like you want to take distance, you want to avoid, and this and that, this and that, this and that. And like I said, I lived this way for a long time, and oof, it took too much effort. And I am sharing this with you, especially because there is another way. It takes time, it takes effort, or not so much, to be honest, but what it takes is a lot of understanding. You first need to realize what is your pattern in love. What are your patterns in relations? And if you have this pattern of like proving yourself to your partner, then it is a very clear sign that you're having this wound. You need to prove yourself to your partner. You needed to prove yourself to your parents when you were little to get their love. It's like the same. The same is playing out in your life somehow, somewhat. And again, another example, when you were little and you did homework and you got good grades. Yes, you received the love. You proved yourself to your parents. When you perform well, did something nice, you receive that. But when you didn't do good grades, when you behaved bad, when you did something wrong, maybe you didn't receive that love. So subconsciously, there's something that you need to hide or push away in order to get this love. And you just need to analyze how this plays out in your life. Nowadays, with your partner, with past partner, exes especially, how this dynamic played out. Because you don't need to fight for love anymore, first of all. And second of all, if you have a partner, or if you had a partner where you need to prove yourself to that person, that is a red flag, my friend. And it's a red flag that has nothing to do with the other person at all. It has to do with you. Why? Because you haven't healed that wound that you had when you were a child. And if you haven't healed that wound, life is just gonna bring you people where you need to fight for their love. You need to prove yourself to them. And when they finally love you, when you finally showed your whole self and you finally got loved, you're gonna heal that inner child wound that has been there for so many years, but you haven't been able to process it yet. And I'm sorry to say, maybe you're so lucky that you find someone that you fight for their love, and then you get them to love you and your wound is healed. Maybe that's one way. But I believe that's not the way. That was not the way for me, and I don't think that's the way, because you're depending on someone else. There is another way where you depend on yourself. And this way, in a way, is it's about processing your emotion and processing the emotions that you felt when you were a little kid. These, yeah, it's easy to say, but it might be a little bit more complicated. And you're also welcome to watch the previous episode about the father wound. There, I feel I explained quite in detail, or more in detail, how to process these wounds that have been there for some time. Yeah, but I'll just tell you how I think it should be. But yeah, anyway, in a way, the first thing always is that you need to understand what's happening in you. If you keep having failed relations and relations where you just keep proving yourself to this person And that's the only way you learn how to receive love. Because in my case, I only knew how to get love when I proved myself. And I was super scared of showing my negative and bad parts and whatnot. And yeah, and before going into how to heal, I just want to touch on the last point, maybe, or on the last part of like this wound, which is that the easy thing and the natural thing when you meet someone and when you are with someone is that you show who you truly are. You show your whole parts. You show everything of who you are. And the other person has a choice of like, hey, do I want to be with you with all your good parts and all your bad parts? Or do I just want to be with you when you're on your good parts, and when you're on your bad parts, I don't really want to be with you? That's super fine. You let that person go. That's the easy spoiler at the end of the episode that I wanted to say on like how to deal with life when you have this wound, and how to heal it. Like on a nutshell, the people who don't love you, you don't need to fight for the love, because if they don't love you, thank you. I am not wasting my time with you. I want someone to love me by who I truly am. You want someone to love you by who you truly are, with your good parts and with your bad parts. If someone only loves you for your good parts, and you are really scared of showing your bad parts, or when you show your bad parts, they run away, I'm sorry for you if you're in that situation. And yeah, I hope that life shows you that maybe that's not the situation you deserve to be in. And there's nothing wrong with the other person, and there's nothing wrong with you. It is just a wound that is taking part there. And yeah, and one day you may meet someone where you don't need to prove yourself. Imagine you meet someone that you don't need to prove yourself in order to get their love, that you can be fully who you are with all your parts, and you get their full love. That's the ideal situation. So for that, to get to that point of really finding someone that loves you by who you are, I tell you how I think you should do it, and then I tell you how I did it myself, so that you may have a reference or you may find some inspiration there. So, if I were you and you resonate a bit of what I've been talking about in this episode, and you recognize it's like, hey, yeah, I'm not having an easy time in finding a relation, or the relations that I had, yeah, I wasn't fully accepted. I never felt fully accepted by anyone. And you sort of needed to prove yourself to those ex-partners or to those people that you like, and that was a little bit not the easiest thing, and it wasn't nice. So yeah, if you recognize that and you may feel identified with having this wound, this is what I would do if I were you. First of all, like anything or many topics that I talk about, awareness is the number one thing for life, in my opinion. Awareness, and not just in this topic, awareness of your wound, awareness of your breath, awareness of your food, awareness of your heartbeat, awareness of your presence. This awareness expand to anything in life. This is number one thing anyone should do for anything in life. Become aware of themselves. We normally are pretty aware of many things, but we're not aware of our thoughts, we're not aware of our breath, we're not aware of many things, and we live every day being totally disconnected from ourselves. So first point, awareness for every area of life, but in this case, awareness of your wound, awareness of your pattern. Think of your life. Think of the people you have related with. Think of all the connections, even friendships. This can also manifest in friendships. Just think of that and think, dude, I had this friendship for so many years. And again, I was just fighting for the friendship, and it just didn't really work. Or You even have that today. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Just let it go. So yeah, so you, yeah, look into your life and start to become aware. You don't need to do anything. Just be aware. And if you, by becoming aware, there will be things that will be starting to move in you. You will start questioning some things. It's like, why am I not showing myself fully to this person? Why am I not comfortable showing these parts that I have to this person? And there you start doing the inquiry. You start asking yourself these questions. Why? Why? Yeah, why is not so easy with this person? Why do I need to prove them? Why do I need to fight for them and they don't fight back? So, yeah, when you start doing that, you might get to some feelings and emotions, and they are not rational. I believe emotions, of course, I connect it to thoughts, but emotions are quite irrational to me, and that's the beautiful part of it. They are also in the body. So you can just like track your body. When that happens, when you get that trigger after listening to this episode, if you feel moved, just connect with that movement inside of you. Where is it? Is it here in your chest? Is it in your belly? Is it in your arms? Is it in your neck? There is tension, there is friction, there is heat, like whatever it is. Just connect to that part and just be with it. Just be with the emotion. Nothing to do. Just feel it. Oh, I feel my chest. I feel this contraction in my chest. Nothing to do. Just feel it. Stay with it. If you're already getting there, you are already very, very far in the process in a way, because you're already becoming aware of yourself and your emotions. And then if you get lucky, you may get some images. You may get some thoughts. You may get some rememberings of the experiences that you had past in your life. You may have a memory of a situation you lived with your parents. You may have a memory, a situation you lived in school. You may have a memory that this sensation that you're feeling reminds you of another sensation you had when you were little, or a sensation that you had many, many times in your relations or in your life. And so that is a sign that there's something in that that needs to be processed. And again, I don't want to go so deep into the processing thing because I feel like I talk about it every episode. But in a nutshell, when you're connected to that and you just allow the emotion and you just feel it, then you may get images of your inner child, this and that, and yeah, and just talk to that. Just have a conversation with your child. Imagine you are your father, or imagine you are your mother, or imagine you're both. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. Imagine that you are an adult. How cool is it? Could you imagine that you are an adult? I'm not sure if if you are an adult. No, I'm kidding. Probably you are, and some parts not. But yeah. So imagine you are your own father, and you are having a baby, which is your own inner child, yourself when you were younger. And yeah, how do you want to talk to that baby? How do you want to talk to that little kid? Now you have the opportunity of fathering yourself or mothering yourself and being like, hey, I see that you've been fighting for my love for so long. I see that you've been fighting for your father's love and for your mother's love, and you didn't really fully receive that love. So now it's time to heal that relation, to create a connection with your inner child, to create a relation, to hold yourself a little bit. And that's how you start healing and healing. And it's a really beautiful process. And again, I could talk about this for hours. Maybe I do another episode. If you want me to do an episode on how to relate to your inner child, to the different parts of yourself, let me know. But yeah, anyways, this is one way. And then this creates, when you start doing this, you start healing this wound. And this is the way, I believe, or one of the best ways, to deal with this thing of fighting for love. But this is not the end. So the wound will always be there, and you just need to realize that you have that wound, and you've had a pattern that you attracted people in your life where you needed to fight for their love. But now you're an adult. Imagine you have done all this beautiful process and you're an adult and you are not governed by your inner child anymore. So then You understand, you come to the realization. Your inner child heals and comes to the realization of like, I don't need to fight for love anymore. You just need to be your fully self. And here's the thing, why don't you need to fight for love? Because the people who don't love you, let them go. It's as simple as that. And I laugh so hard. I really laugh at this. And I'm sorry if it triggers you or if it affects you or it sounds that I'm an asshole. But I laugh because I laugh at myself. Because up until last year, I had this shit all over me. This thing of fighting for love. And I was fully unconscious that this pattern was playing out in my life. So now I tell you about my experience of fighting for love to see if this helps you. Like looking back in my life, especially with the ex-girlfriends, most of them I had a need of proving myself to them. Always, right? And it's not that they asked me, you need to prove yourself, or they only wanted to see my lights. They probably also wanted to see these other parts of me, but I had it so deeply ingrained in my system that in order to get love, I needed to prove my worth to them. I am worth it. You should choose me because I am the best. Or you see how funny I am. You see all my good qualities. Just proving myself. And that didn't really work well because I was never confident or comfortable on showing my bad parts. I didn't really like to show my bad parts to anyone. If I was sad, I didn't want to show that to anyone. If I was angry, I didn't want to show that to anyone. If, I do some things that I judge myself for it and I have a hard time accepting those things of me, those parts of me, how could someone else accept those parts if I'm not able to accept those parts of me? And I think that we all have parts that we may have a harder time to accept of ourselves. So, anyways, it started, of course, 1 year ago. I started a coaching process with someone, and I received sessions, and we worked on all these things, and this started because, and if you watch other episodes, I also shared this even more. But it all started because I was suffering a lot. I was suffering a lot of pain, especially from heartbreak. In the past 2 years, in a way, I met two different people that they really trigger different wounds inside of me, and I wasn't really conscious of it. But in a way, I sort of fell for them, and they didn't really fall for me. And that was a really tough, painful heartbreak experience, which is really beautiful because it brought me a lot of pain. If you have felt heartbreak in your life, you probably felt a lot of pain, and that is great to work with. If you take the opportunity, if you have a relation or you're getting out of a relation right now where you're feeling a lot of pain, I am jealous of you because life is giving you a great opportunity to work on yourself. Pain is the door to healing. Pain is a gift. It's fascinating. I believe without pain we cannot go so deep. But pain, so the surface level for me was like this heartbreak experience, but the depth of it wasn't that. It had nothing to do with that woman. It had nothing to do with that situation or whatever she did to me or anything like that. It had nothing to do with that. It all had to do with my patterns, with the iceberg. Just picture the iceberg in the bottom of the sea. That little surface thing of like, oh, I just got heartbreak. Like this person doesn't love me, doesn't want me, la la la. No, the depth of it is like mama, father, family, friends, past life, inner child, just a lot of wounds, a lot of wounds, a lot of wounds. And one of these wounds was this. So I remember, of course, this wound didn't come up like this. It took many sessions to get to here. But I remember just connecting to my parts, connecting to my inner child, and realizing that I had this thing that in order to get the love from my father or from my mother, I felt that I needed to prove them myself to them. So doing work on this, talking to my inner child, talking to my parents imaginatively on those sessions, having conversation with them, just having this process and processing and allowing the emotions to really, when the emotions came, my friend. Tears and tears and tears and really, really pain, a lot of pain, a lot of pain. And yeah, and that pain was still in me, in my body, and probably still is somewhere. But yeah, it was pain that I just had there that I wasn't really processed. So what I did was that, what I didn't do anything, to be honest. It was life who guided me through this. I didn't even know. I wasn't even aware that I had a wound with this fighting for love thing. I had no idea. And at the end, this is the beautiful thing when you do these sessions, when you do this IFS, these sessions with yourself, with your inner child and everything. There's this thing that I like to call the inner wisdom. And yeah, my inner wisdom spoke to me clearly. Like after the release, when there is a big, big, big release of emotions, there's some space. That's where the healing happens. And in that space, I heard a voice inside of me that said very clear to me, you don't need to fight for love anymore. And that to me was life changing. After that session, I put a little reminder every day at 11 for many months, every day. You don't need to fight for love anymore. You don't need to fight for love anymore. And yeah, it was quite clear. So what started to happen in me throughout the months, whenever I would meet someone or a friend or someone I was attracted to or had a date or whatever it was, I had it clear in me that I don't need to fight for your love. If you don't love me, I celebrate you. It's not even about, oh, you don't love me, fuck off. No, 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 no. You don't love me, I celebrate you. We're not meant to be. It is like that. So, in a way, after processing this wound, calmness invaded my system. Life became a lot easier because I didn't to fight for anyone's love. And in fact, I started to show myself fully. Whenever I would meet a person, I would be like, hey, just so you know, I want you to know me. I want you to see my shadows. I want you to see the bad parts of me because I'm working on myself. And yeah, and some people didn't like me. And then that was great. And some others were actually, I like that. I want to know you more. I want to know your shadows. So I also felt like I could be myself a lot more, that I didn't need to hide anything because I didn't have that need anymore of proving myself to someone. I am like this, and I have good things and bad things, and this is me. And of course, I'm not here to hurt you or anything like that, but there are things that we all have. So yeah, and my relations just got a lot more truthful, and I also let go of some of my relations because some of them were just toxic in a way, or there was this weird dynamic that I needed to show myself or prove myself. And I brought a lot of relaxation to my life. I hope that you got the point on how it worked in me. And so that, yeah, if you feel like you have this wound or a similar wound, that there is a way out. You are not cursed. You don't have to live your whole life fighting for someone's love or proving yourself to this person for years and years so that they love you, so you finally get the love that you deserve. If you resonate with this, yeah, that's not the way. That's not the way. Life is simple. Life is, like I said, life is super simple. The heart doesn't need to do anything to pump blood. You don't need to do anything for your lungs to take a breath. Life is simple. So if you're having it complicated, it might mean that you need to look at something within yourself. And most likely, your ego may think it's the other person. That's their fault. My friend, yeah, other people have a lot of faults, but look inside. Look inside, because that's where the magic happens. We don't depend on others to be who we are. We just have our life experience. And yeah, and I invite you to look inside. If you are blaming someone for your life situation, if you're blaming the sun for your happiness, or you're blaming the money or the government or the politics for your life situation, yeah, not a good idea. Look inside. Look inside yourself. That's where most answers you can find are there. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about this. Even though I could even do another episode, I could even record this episode again and say many other things. Because it really changed my life. This thing of fighting for love. Yeah, but if I want to leave you with something, I want to leave you with this: that life is easy, love is easy. Don't bother if you have someone that you need to put constant effort to get their love. Of course, in love, you may need to invest energy. Of course, investing energy in love. Of course, that we all need to do, but it's not the same investing energy because you really like someone and just like you want to put your time and effort and care towards this person, towards this relation. That's very different from you need to. You need to do something, you need to put time, you need to do these things in order to get their love, and like this need and fighting and proving and la 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 la. All these things that we've been talking about in this episode. That I don't think is the right way. Like I say, go back to nature. Go back to nature, see how nature functions effortlessly. A river, the water just flows down without effort. The waves in the ocean, they don't need to fight to make waves. The waves are just waves. Life just flows. And if you have a situation or relations or patterns of this in your life, just take it as a gift. Take it as a gift that you can become aware of them and you can work on them and change them in a way. And when that happens, you start choosing easy. You don't choose hard anymore because hard is fun. Hard is challenging and hard is beautiful. But the life, if you had hard life or easy life, which one do you pick? And easy doesn't mean without challenges or without anything. It just means relax. You can be who you are and you can be loved by who you are with your good parts and bad parts. And this doesn't mean that you're an asshole or you are a bad person and someone should love you for being a bad person. This also means that you also want to work in your bad parts. Of course, you want someone to accept all of who you are, and you also want to work on yourself. So, yeah, I don't want to rant anymore. If you want to work on yourself and you don't know with who, you can try working out with me. If you feel the call and inspired, and also if you wanna if you this brought you some value somehow somewhat and you want to support me, you can do it very easily. Just subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, whatever it is. You know how it plays in this internet world. So yeah, thank you so much for your attention. I am deeply grateful for this episode. I had a lot of fun. I especially had a lot of fun because this has been a big part of my life, and it has helped me a lot. And I'm celebrating myself and how my life is right now and how it has changed after working on these wounds. And yeah, and I thought that it could bring you some value, some value. And so yeah, if it did, super happy about that. And yeah, and I also happy for myself for doing 5 episodes. Yeah, it. Let's see where it goes. Let's see where it goes. So welcome to follow my journey, welcome to connect with me, and yeah, and I wish you a good day, a good week, and especially I want to remind you to breathe and enjoy yourself, but especially to connect to yourself. Let go of the mind, let go of the thoughts, and just take a deep breath and remember that you're alive. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to fight for love anymore. Just be you. And part of being you is breathing. That's the magic of life. Thank you so much for being there, and I'll see you next time.